Hi, everyone.
Hello. Hi,
How's it
everyone.
go? Welcome back, everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And we're SpectrumMamis.
Yes.
Um, how you doing, Lisette?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Not bad. Can't complain.
Yeah. Well, guys, the reason we're doing this, as you see, I'm in our studio with no audience. No, I'm just kidding. Um, we didn't get together because Angel is sick. He's doing better,
Right.
but he's sick. And everybody's kind of sniffly, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
It's
So
definitely been going around.
we didn't
Hmm.
want to spread more germs.
Right.
Um, Angel does not have COVID, but is not doing so great. So we just wanted to just kind of like do this and be able to bring you an episode this Friday,
Hmm.
today.
Hmm.
But one thing we're gonna say is that next Friday is the Black Friday after
Hmm.
Thanksgiving, so we're gonna take that off. So there's not gonna be a episode next Friday, but then we'll be back in the swing of things. The next week after that. But we're doing this because we didn't want to miss it, and we just got stuff to talk about because we're
Hmm.
always got stuff to talk about, you
Right.
know?
And the good thing is too, with us not putting anything new next week, is that whether you have been watching our videos or if you haven't, you can actually take that time to actually go back and watch other
You can
videos
catch
that
up.
we mentioned and catch up. And yeah, so that's a good thing. And family is always priority. So next week, is Angel off the whole week?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So over the last few, I feel like when we were kids, definitely we only had Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving off. And if I
Yeah,
remember
and they
correctly,
started adding days, the Wednesday
right.
or half of the day Wednesday, y que no
Hmm.
sé qué, y no sé cuánto, y de un tiempo para acá, it's like the whole week.
So
It's like,
now it's like the whole week. And even just a few years ago, it was only like I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then but now most schools, at least
yeah,
here in Florida, um, I remember, I think it was last year, even as early as last year, the year before, Justin didn't have all those days off. I think he only had Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, if I'm not mistaken. But Chloe was off the whole week. And her school's a little different since she is in district, but it's charter. So yeah, now it's the entire week, and we're gonna spend that time with our kiddos. And so meeting would be really impossible. And of
yeah.
course, we can always pre-record, but we're not going to go that route. We're going to actually, and we always have topics that we discuss that we want to talk about, and we always are open to suggestions. If there's anything that you guys want us to talk about, we can do that as well. But with this particular week, we have decided that because we are having to do this from home, from our respective homes, and not get together, it would be a perfect opportunity to actually address just that, right? And how difficult
Right.
these things, and having, if we were to have a regular job, like like a 9 to 5 or anything like that, why that is very difficult for families like ours.
In
So it
my
just seemed
case,
like a perfect opportunity. Hmm.
in my case, I'm grateful that I have a very flexible
Hmm.
and I'm a contractor, so like a 1090, what they call a 1099. So
Right.
I have been able to, you know I'm able to do these things and to
Right.
you know take off for Angel and take him to the doctor. I had to take him twice, you know all those things that when you have a 9 to 5,
It's impossible. It really
it's
is.
impossible. And sometimes you have good supervisors and good, bosses that are willing to help
Hmm.
and be lenient, but up to a point, right?
Right.
And we
Right.
get it. we get it because that's your business and, people need to be there to work.
Right.
But unfortunately, with special needs, there's always something. Not just
Really
if they're
Yeah.
ill, pero si un meeting, que si no sé qué.
Mhm.
So there's always something. And when they get sick, it's more of an impact, I feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can't just leave them with anyone. You no lo
Right.
puedes dejar con la vecina, con una
No.
prima, con no sé qué. It's not like that because
Hmm.
depending on the autism, the severity or however you want to word it, okay? Because
Hmm.
you know how people get sensitive about high functioning, low functioning, and that whole thing.
Hmm.
But depending on that, not everybody knows how to deal with your child. Not
Right.
everybody knows how to take care of your child.
Hmm.
So it makes it a little different and difficult. And
Right.
that little extra something, you know?
Right. Not just that. So a good example is this week. Of course, we couldn't meet. We decided that we were going to still come in and talk about this because it's obviously an issue for so many. I'm on several Facebook pages where this is a common problem. I see moms ask all the time, what do you guys do for work? Like, how are you guys able to have a job? How is this even like a possibility? And we've struggled so much over the years to try to find that balance. So I haven't been working outside the home for a little while, but I am planning on going back to work, and we're still going to continue the podcast and everything is still going to be the same. But I have decided to take on some cases. For those that may not know, I am also a registered behavior technician, and I wasn't planning necessarily on going back into the field to work specifically in ABA, but because I did find a company that is able to offer me some hours while the kids are in school. This is very specific because the families that I'm going to be working with, they're looking for services at the school and not in the home. So that allows me to work while the kids are in school, but I can also be home when the kids are not in school.
Right.
And I'm going to also still face the challenges of when they're sick and things like that. Like I may not be able to work, but that does allow me some flexibility. So that's going to probably happen in the next, upcoming weeks. But yeah, it's really a struggle that so many of us see this happen
Yeah.
all the time. It's
Is and people get fired from jobs.
right.
I've heard,
Yeah.
stories. Even us, we've
Hmm.
had to either let go of a job and
Right.
things like that because there was no way that we could have kept on.
Exactly. I know that at one point around the time that we met, we both did work full-time jobs and our kids were younger at the time. And we both had to be on, I think we discussed FMLA a little bit when we
Yeah.
had our live with Monica, but
Yeah,
we
we
both
did.
had to do, be on FMLA, which allows us to take a certain amount of days where you wouldn't be able to get paid unless you had PTO, paid time off. But even if you exhaust your PTO, it would go unpaid, but you still would not get fired or reprimanded for being out. That doesn't mean that companies are going to always follow the rules, and that companies, I mean, unfortunately, some companies will, if they really want to let you go, they're going to let, or they're not understanding, they're going to
They'll
let you
figure
go
it
for
out.
any other reason.
Hmm.
But it's just a way for people like us to protect yourselves and not lose your job because of your inability to make it at a certain time or be out. I can definitely tell you that having FMLA really did, and I was very lucky that back when I used to work full time, I had a supervisor who actually was the one that suggested FMLA. I didn't know much about it, but she didn't want me to get fired, and I was having a really hard time keeping up, and she was the one that suggested it, and that really helped me for as long as I wanted to stay there. My husband also has FMLA at work, and that helps us. And honestly, I don't know, after what we went through last year with all the hospitalizations that Justin had, we would have never been able to have a regular full-time job. I would have not been able to. I would have either been on a leave or I would have probably had to end up either getting let go or I would have had to resign from the position. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I was off during that time and I wasn't working. But my husband also had to take some time off because he does have FMLA. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at today.
It does protect you.
Mm-hmm.
Not completely, because unfortunately, there's ways to go around it. And
Mm-hmm.
if they want to get rid of you, they will.
Yeah, they'll find some other
They're
reason.
already, yeah, if they're already, you know, if they feel like they already did enough and had enough patience with you and
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to have more patience with you, they'll figure it out.
Right.
And it's the truth.
Yeah.
But at least that helps you a little bit, and that can help you work through all those ins and outs of asking for time, and if you have extended time, that works for children, spouses.
Anybody really who depends on you. So it's anybody who has a medical condition that
Yeah,
depends on you
it's not
for any
just, autism or anything like
right.
that. It's not just that. It's
Right.
if
So I've
you
known people
have
that have gotten
someone
it for an
ill.
ailing parent
Mhm.
because they take a lot of time off taking their family or their parent to the doctor and stuff like that. So that's
So it works for
also
other things. Yeah.
right, right. So that's and actually now that I think about it, I just thought about somebody that I can actually that I think might benefit from FMLA and does not have a child with autism but has a parent that may actually need it as well. But yeah, if and it's not it doesn't apply to just anybody either. So I don't know if that differs by state, but the little bit that I do know about FMLA here is that it's for company. You're able to get FMLA if you are employed by a company that has 50 or more employees, and you also have to be at the job for about a year, at least 12 months.
Right.
I think in some cases, if you've been there less time, but you worked a certain amount of hours, because it's really by hour. So yes.
You have to be a full-time employee.
Right.
That's
A
for sure.
full-time employee. Exactly. A full-time employee.
32 hours. Well, at least when I had it, I don't know if it's changed, but at least when I had it back then, it was 32 hours or more.
Right.
It couldn't be less.
Yeah. So basically what that meant is that as long as you needed to be out, so again, it could have changed, but from when we had it, it was you're allowed to take 60 days off intermittently for the care of a specific family member. So it could be either you had to leave early or you had to come in late or you had to be out. As long as it's for that reason that you're using FMLA time, you wouldn't be reprimanded for it or anything like that. And the requirement is a requiring diagnosis, obviously. It's very simple paperwork that has to be filed with your employer. But yes, the requirement used to be that it was 12 months at the job, full-time, 50 or more employees.
What I'm not sure, and that we would have to look into, and people would have to look into if they want to do that. I don't know if that works for the mom and pops smaller businesses.
It does, but you have to be an employee. So you cannot be an independent contractor or a 1099 or anything like that. You have to be a W-2 employee, and the employer, you have to be with the employer for more than a year or more, and you have to have 50 or more employees. So if it's a mom and pop shop,
if you have,
right,
yeah, if you have a place that is, no sé, una cafetería chiquita ahí que,
with less than 50 employees, they don't have to oblige by that. They just don't.
Right.
But if it's 50 or more, and you'd be surprised, sometimes you feel like, oh, but there's only 20 people in my office. Yeah, but your organization may have 60 employees because they have more than one office. So keep that in mind, Because if it doesn't matter if
Exactly.
your particular location where you work has little employees, if it's the same organization, you may
Right.
still be able to get qualified. I see a lot of people think that they don't qualify because of that, but then they might, and it goes vice versa as well.
Right.
Um, so yeah, for us, it's extremely difficult to have a full-time job for many families like ours. I just want to also put in perspective that it's not only about being sick, even though that's really what we're talking about right now. But I'm preparing for a hearing that I have this week, because we're always fighting for services. And I will do another video on that, but it's always a fight for services that our kiddo needs and deserves and is entitled to. But one of the things that I also want to bring up is it's not just being sick. I counted because I have a county, Broward County calendar, and I counted how many days off because I need to present this information for my hearing, and there is 54 days off in the 23-24 school year that the kids don't have school. Whether it's the teacher planning day or...
And you know, a lot of parents run into that problem. I'm talking about every parent runs into that because they work, pero there's a teacher planning day, que si no sé qué, que si no sé cuánto. So, ¿y qué hago ahora? Do I leave the kids alone in the house? Do I, depending on their age, ¿no? Que si no sé qué, que, oh my God, no sé, tengo que llevar un poquito más tarde porque, gotta get them settled. I gotta take them somewhere else that they usually don't go to. Different things, right? So when you look at that and you hear how many days they're off, it's like, really?
Right. Yeah. And then there's, yes. So,
and have you heard, have you heard about making the week a 4-day week or something like that? They were saying about the...
Yeah, that's come up a few times. I don't know where that's at now because I'm not in the game, but...
¿Qué tú te imaginas que los padres van a hacer entonces?
Right.
Porque that 4-day week of school...
Oh, you mean for schools? Like schools want to make it? No, I didn't know that. I didn't hear that. But a lot of employers have talked about doing that as well.
También.
The issue with a 4-day week is that the days would be a lot longer. I don't know about the schooling, how the days would be, but I know that when it's talked about from an employer standpoint, apparently they save power, or it's supposed to be like cost effective, but their days are a lot longer. So that's another issue. Let's say that your employer decides to go with a 4-day week and your kiddo has, so we're going to go the other way around. Your kiddo has 5 days of school and your employer wants to do a 4-day week, which great. That sounds good. But in order to do the 4-day week, you now have to work 10 hours a week, 10 hours a day. How does that work who picks up your child at school? If you have to pick up your child. So it can go either way, really.
Yeah, it can. It really can. So then there was my phone was ringing. Sorry, guys. Forgot to put in vibrate. Anyway, so yeah, that's the stuff that we run into, and especially I feel for like the single moms that have to deal with that, and some moms end up with very little support from the family,
resources, and
resources, and
if your child has SSI and therefore qualifies for a state plan like Medicaid based on their child's disability, they can get a personal care assistant, which is somebody who pretty much fills your role while you're not there. And that's great. But a lot of times, if you work full time, then you may not qualify for that because up until your child is 18, SSI, and this is something nobody knows unless you live this, Social Security disability is not just for the medically needy. If you make above the amount that they tell you, you also can't qualify your child for SSI, meaning
Nope.
your child would not qualify for Medicaid, meaning you would have to put your child through your private insurance at work. And unfortunately, private insurance at
Meaning,
work,
meaning that most of the stuff is not going to get covered.
right? Well, most of the stuff, and not only is they're going to take these premiums out of your paycheck, but also keep in mind that personal care assistants or private insurance, commercial insurance at work, they don't care about autism, and they don't care about that you can't have someone at your house to care for your child. They don't cover that service. That's not a service that's covered by, you would have to pay it out of pocket. And do you make enough money really to pay that out of pocket? Most people don't.
Correct.
So it's very difficult. And we cannot, even when you have a child in pre-K, you cannot send your child with special needs to a, this is why I actually spoke to somebody the other day who is trying to open a special needs daycare. And I think that's brilliant and that's so needed. I remember when Justin was little that he couldn't go to regular daycare. I mean, we did for a little while, but then it got to a point, and I think we talked about this in one of our very first videos, that I would get to pick him up and he was always sitting in a high chair. And it dawned on me it was because they couldn't handle him. And so they would just tie him up and put him in a high chair because, and I don't even blame them really at this point. I mean, as hard as it was as a parent to see that he wasn't with the other kids and stuff, I also knew that they just couldn't keep up with him. And so
Right.
I am so glad that some moms have actually realized that this is a real problem and have actually gone and made this. Listen, if it doesn't exist and you know it's needed, build it.
Yeah.
You know, it might not be easy for us to build it, but
I don't know.
build it and they
It's
will come.
needed.
It's needed.
It's needed. It is needed. And yes, you're gonna have the parents are like, no, yo no sé, because we hands down, we get super overprotective.
Right.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Because we worry.
Mm-hmm.
No, que si lo
Well,
cuidan
it's because
bien y
our
que no
kids
sé
are
qué.
very vulnerable when you compare them to neurotypical children. You know, our kids are very
Exacto.
vulnerable, and they may be more likely to suffer from some kind of abuse, especially when they're nonverbal. There's just a lot of bad people out there, and you can never be too sure. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But it is
it's a
needed.
real problem.
And if you build it the right way,
Yeah.
people are gonna
Mm-hmm.
come. Because
Yeah.
I've heard of certain things that, oh, I would love to do this for the special needs, but then would you really have people come and get the services? And yes, they will. They will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They will. Once you build it the right way, they will.
Yeah.
They will. I feel
But
like it would be something worth doing.
mm-hmm. So I
Oh,
think that the main reason why we wanted to do this quick video was because I think a lot of people, well, first, if you're going through this because you're a special needs mom, you don't feel alone, and you see that we're all going through this struggle and ways that we've been able to like work around it. But also, if you don't have anybody in your life who has special needs and you still watch our videos, you don't know what you don't know. So I'll give you a good example of that. You know, when you park in a disabled parking spot, a lot of times people will park, you know how there's these like lines right next to a lot of people will park kind of in the middle. If you have a decal and you park kind of in the middle, or you park or even if you don't have a decal, if you're parked right next to one of those, you need to stay in your space. You cannot go on those lines. And you're thinking, well, I mean, a tractor might fit there. Yes, but what you don't realize is that the car that might park there might be a specialty vehicle, like a special van. They need that room to get a wheelchair out. You don't think about that too much because you don't live it.
correct.
I had a dear friend who used to work with my own child, and he had a son who he has a son who has special needs, or I think he has cerebral palsy, and he has a wheelchair. And part of the issues that they come across is he uses public transportation to get around, and certain transportation doesn't have the ramp for his wheelchair. You don't, so a lot of times he has to take time off work to pick him up when he goes to a college that doesn't have the transportation. He has classes in different, her son is very bright, and he loves to learn, and he wants to make a name for himself. And so he's in college, but getting him to college is very difficult. The logistics of it is very difficult because some of the transportation that can get him to a specific campus may not offer the services that he needs. So that has to take time off work to get him there on certain days because he doesn't have. So these are stuff that unless it affects you personally, you don't even know. So it's kind of the same with us. I have so many moms that will be like, they have issues. People think they're lazy because they're not working or whatever the case, but they don't realize that, the people that are talking nonsense don't realize that the kid has 54 days off a year and she has no one to take care of the kid, and there's no services. There's many states that even have the service, but may not necessarily have staff, which is another issue.
That they want to work part-time only.
And no one is hiring.
Because they cannot make more.
Right. That's another thing. Yeah. They cannot make more because then their Medicaid is stripped, which is due to a disability that they have no control of. But then they can't afford to pay for the services either because, listen, I know people that make a lot of money and so they don't qualify for services, but because they don't qualify for services, they qualify for no services. So they make too much, but they still can't afford to pay for everything because they don't qualify for anything. So it's all a challenge. It's all very difficult. And unless you live it, you really don't know it. And so to those that are living it, we get it. We've been there. And those that don't, be schooled. Because we're telling you how to understand, okay? Entiende. Abre las entendederas, like my mom tells me. Abre las entendederas.
Escucha. Abre la guataca.
Oír y escuchar son dos cosas.
That's true. Yeah.
So, be mindful. Right.
Hey, listen, talking como los locos. ¿Tú sabes lo que me pasó ayer? Sergio viene y me dice, Mom, I don't have deodorant, que no sé qué. Y le digo, bueno, grab el de tu hermano. He goes, ew, no. And I go, what do you mean? No. And he goes, no, I'm not going to share my deodorant with my brother. You don't share deodorant. I'm like, oh, hell. I'm like, why not? It's just once and that's it. No. Now, my question to you is, and to those people out there, do you share deodorant? Because I share deodorant. And I've shared it with Angel myself, at a given time. So it's funny because it's almost like, you know how they say about, sharing toothbrushes?
Yeah.
And that gets a little...
Yeah. So I don't believe that anybody should share toothbrushes. However, I'm not going to say that I've never have with my significant other. Yes, I have shared in a moment of crisis or need. I've had to share toothbrush with my husband. I can't think of anybody else to share my toothbrush with. My life was empty until I shared my toothbrush. But no, I normally wouldn't share that, and that's something that I normally wouldn't share. And I really wouldn't share deodorant or hair brushes or anything like that with anybody else. However, in my house is a different story. So for us at home, we do share the deodorant. I don't care about that. And my kids are pretty good. My daughter's very territorial and she likes her own things. She has one in her room. We have one in each bathroom as well. So she has her own, but if she needed to use the other one, she would use it. That said, we don't have a lot of boundaries in this house. it, I remember when we got that call when we were first diagnosed.
We got some over here, some because we're not a really sherry. I mean, it's not like we don't do it. We do it.
Right.
Pero no estamos de que de un mismo vaso todo el mundo toma y toda esa cosa.
Yeah, we we have no boundaries when it comes to that stuff. I will say that, like, I remember when we first got COVID the first time, like in early 2021, I remember they said that you needed to isolate, right, from your other family members. And I'm like, these kids be eating off my plate. Like, how is that going to even, first of all, I thought the whole thing was ridiculous because how do you isolate from a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old at the time that clearly still really needs their parents? I thought, because she was the first one to be diagnosed with COVID at the time. And they told me I needed to isolate from my 8-year-old who I do everything still for at the time. She's 10 now, but she was like 8 back then. And I thought it was ridiculous. But, and I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. I mean, but we knew we were all going to get it.
We had COVID in 2020, like when it first came out, the big thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, how am I gonna isolate? I mean, we're not gonna be touchy-feely, huggy, all that stuff. But we live in the same house. The house is not huge. Yeah. It's not like you could just close off, because they were making it like, oh my God, you have to,
Yeah, they literally
isolate. I
thought it was interesting because
we share bathrooms. Hello.
Yeah. After Chloe got it, Justin got it, and I said, I would love to isolate from special needs parenting for like a week. How can I manage that? Like, do you think if I just they literally told me, the people from the Department of Health they were so, like, I guess brainwashed. I don't know what the hell, but they literally told me that I needed to put my daughter's food on the floor next to her room so that she could grab it and take it inside. She has a phobia of roaches, so she won't take a damn piece of bread in her room. And you want me to put a plate of food right there? The whole thing didn't. But anyway, it's going to go into a whole other topic.
I know. But with the deodorant thing, I don't know. Who knows? But there's, I mean, I don't mind sharing it, but it's within our household.
Yeah, so within our household, we share it.
It's not like you're going to share it con cualquiera, tampoco,
right. Right. So. I think the one that least shares in our house is definitely Chloe. And like, for instance, Justin doesn't realize, and he kisses her and hugs her all the time. And she loves it. They're both very sweet to each other. But he doesn't realize that sometimes he gives like really wet kisses and he like overdoes it. So like, she'll be like, oh, Justin just put slobber all over me. So she's a little interesting. But don't get me wrong, he really did put slobber all over. Like, he really did. He gives these wet kisses. But yeah, she's the one that, like, I think is least shares. And still, certain things, it's okay.
Yeah. By the way, oh my God, the blooper that we did, the one with the whistle of me whistling.
Oh, that was awesome.
Oh my God, every time I watch it, like, because I've had to, edit it and all that.
Yeah.
I had to
so
see
many
it.
People thought it was funny. Yeah.
And it makes me laugh because it's just, whatever. Because we start laughing porque nos conocemos ya.
Right.
Pero people send us like DMs or make comments on, not on
and when I
the
told
video.
You, like, for me, it just came out so natural. I'm like, you do that really good. And then I didn't realize, and I said, you're like a sailor. And I thought to myself, does that even make sense? Like, did people understand what I meant by that?
And the thing that came through my mind, I didn't say much, right?
Yeah.
And then we just talked about, the camera going and it's still on and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
A good blooper. But what I didn't say, which came through, my mind was like, hey, I can whistle like a sailor and curse like one too, But
I can attest to that too.
But
That's funny.
I guess you were thinking, do they really understand what I meant?
Yeah, like what
So,
did I
yeah.
even mean by that? But apparently they did. A lot of the people that actually messaged me about it, I was showing it to somebody and they thought it was funny. And I'm like, I don't even know if people, he goes, I totally understood what you meant by that. He goes, almost like a pirate. And I go, exactly. But anyway,
Hey,
so
when you have boys, when you're surrounded by boys and you have boys,
that's
hey,
true.
that's what
That's
happens.
true. Yeah, that
You
whistle
know?
was super. I don't even know. Anyway, so anything else to add? I think we're gonna start cutting this already,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
because we're
we
so
gotta
short
go
on
because
time
this
this
is
week.
gonna cut us off in about less than 2 minutes. So
Yeah. So we will be back the week after Thanksgiving. So is that the first week of December? I don't want
I don't
to
even know.
calendar, but
Actually, no, the week of the 27th. That Friday is the first, I believe. Yes.
okay, yeah. So the first week right after Thanksgiving. So the first week of December, we'll be back with all new episodes. In the meantime, please make sure to
Catch up.
follow us. Huh?
Catch up on all the other videos.
Yes, catch up, follow us, like, comment, share, follow us on our podcast. We're on pretty much all streaming platforms as well as all over social media and YouTube as well. SpectrumMamis.
SpectrumMamis. She got it all down packed, people.
Yeah. Oh, and if there's anything
Wait, what?
particular, one more thing. If there's anything particular that you want us to talk about in other episodes, please send us a DM or comment on one of our videos and we will definitely, we are working. Yes, we are definitely working on a few other ones, but wanted to bring this one out since it kind of had to do with what we're dealing with today. But if there's anything else that you guys want us to talk about, please let us know and we will make sure to do that.
We will. All right, guys. Have a good weekend. And
Happy Thanksgiving in advance.
have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Mucho
Yes.
pavo, gobble gobble.
Get in that melatonin, that natural melatonin from food. And we will be back. And what else? Is that it? I think we're almost going to get a cut off.
That's it. That's pretty much it. So
we will be active on social media though during these
yes,
this little hiatus for a week. We will be active on social media, so stay tuned.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Bye.